Hi everyone, this is Oscar versus Christopher, played on the 20th of October 2018. Very short game. We'll just see what happens. Let's have a look. E4, C5, so we got Sicilian, and that's my alarm. I'll just turn it off. E5, what is E5? I'm just going to go to the openings book. See, normally knight f6 is played first. The knight comes out and hits the pawn, forcing this knight out here, and then e5. And that's the Sveshnikov. e5 straight away. Whoa, what is this? According to the openings book, it is not considered that great a move. And yeah, bishop b5 check seems to be the main response to that. Let's see what happened. Knight, yeah. I mean, if you look at the engine wants to play bishop b5 check, and then the knight can jump to f5, which is not really an option in. I don't think it's as much of an option when they play knight f6 first. So in this line here, bishop b5 check is still a move. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So Christopher's left out knight f6, and he's gone e5 straight away. And Oscar's replied knight b5. Yeah, I'm not sure about this move. Bishop b5 check's better, but yeah, it still looks like black might be okay. I mean, the main issue here is the backward d pawn. You know, whenever you put this pawn on e5, you're creating a backward d pawn and an outpost in d5 for white to use. You know, if black ever gets d5 in later on in the game, then black's solved all his positional problems. He often doesn't, though. So in this position, Christopher played bishop d7. Well, that's just terrible. I'm sorry, that's just not a very good move. It interferes with the queen's defense of d6, and the knight just gets to take this pawn for free. Something like bishop e7 is probably best, and just developing this king side as fast as possible and getting the king to safety. A6 is also perfectly fine here. Now the difference with this line and not having played knight f6, knight c3 is this knight actually can jump straight back to c3. Under the other lines, if we head to them, if knight f6, knight c3 was played first, and then the knight jumps to here, after a6, the knight would be forced back to a silly square on a3. Kind of silly. The idea is after b5, the pawn fork is threatened immediately, and oops. And this is a bit uncomfortable for white. He has to play something like knight d5 straight away, just so there's no pawn fork. But in this line, after knight b5, a6, the knight actually can jump to c3, and this knight can come out via d7 rather than having to go out via a3. So it gives white more options. So in future, I would suggest the person playing black chuck in the knight f6, knight c3 first before playing e5. Now, just to get back to theory a little bit, in this position, yeah, it looks like black has just created a backward d pawn and an outpost, but in compensation for that, he has got a pawn securely planted in the center of the board, giving control over d4 and f4. So it's kind of a trade-off. It's like, on the one hand, I've got these weaknesses that I'm going to have to deal with, you know, over the next 10 moves or so. But on the other hand, I've got my center pawn cemented in the middle. And quite often in chess, you have to make these sort of trade-offs, giving yourself a weakness, but in compensation, getting a strength. Okay, let's get into the actual game. This is pretty much a slaughter from this point forward. Just throwing away this d pawn is, yeah, terrible. Bishop takes, queen takes, and yeah, white's a pawn up. This e pawn is under fire. The king's gonna have trouble castling with the queen guarding the f8 square. It's a mess. So queen a5 was the suggested move. That looks like it just loses the e pawn. To be honest, white gets to develop his bishop with tempo, which is what he did. and the queen will have to retreat, and after retreating, this queen grabs this with check, and then it's attacking the g7 pawn as well, so the king will have to move to f8 rather than blocking it, and it's just looking pretty nasty. You know, something like queen b6, queen takes e5, check, and maybe, I mean, king f8 defends the g-pawn, but that's not a very happy position for black. 2 pawns down, his king can't castle. Alternatively, you just sack that pawn, you play something like knight e7 and just let him take the 3rd pawn. At least this way you're getting development in compensation for all the pawns you've lost. But after queen a5, bishop d2, black played queen b5. And yeah, I'm not sure what happened there. Maybe he accidentally let go of the piece on b5, or I don't know. It just, yeah, the game's over. Bishop takes. And this is all over. Oh, the queen fork at the end, winning this. This is hard to watch. This is painful. You just watch all these pawns disappear. 3 pawns and a queen down. There's not much that can be done here. I'm just going to race through this. This is going to be a very short analysis session. Queen here, pawn up, okay. And I mean, he had to deal with these holes. Maybe f6 is better. Just to blunt that bishop. Oh wait, hang on. Does f6 just lose a pawn? Yeah, it does. After, yeah, okay, that doesn't help anything. So yeah, g6, fair enough. Queen g5, the queen sneaking in here and checkmating this king. Knight a5, offering a free knight. I guess, I mean, how do you stop this? I guess you can't. So he's thrown his knight away, but now he can play something like rook here and defend f6 if he wants to. But yeah, bishop c3. Now the queen's still threatening to jump in here. Credit to black. Black knew exactly what he had to try and stop. Yeah, this pawn is not on pre because the rook takes it. The queen just jumps in here and mates the king. So yeah, knight back. Okay, he's trying to bring it to d7 to defend f6. He's desperately trying to hang on. It's a bit too late. Now the queen's threatening to just jump in here and then mate the king. So the king ran for it. King f8. Fair enough. Unfortunately, yeah, it just runs straight into a pin. Oh, this is terrible. Was there any reason to take? Yeah, I guess. Yeah, and then queen c5. And the other rook disappears, and yeah, it's game over. So here, black resigned. Not much to learn from this game, except don't throw away free stuff. Yeah, the learning should happen in the opening, as I've already mentioned, knight f6 instead. And yeah, after this, yeah, and then yeah, so blundered a pawn and then immediately blundered another pawn and then immediately blundered a queen. I mean, this is not a game of chess. This is I don't know what this is. Okay, it was a very short analysis. I hope someone learnt something from that. That's it for now. Goodbye.